Hi, I'm Kara.
You probably recognize me from one of my first two LightCraft episodes.
I have quite the growth spurt in between making those episodes and this one. This turning of events happened one night when I was in the mood to explore. Inside myself, I said I need to cover some new ground. I decided to go for a walk. I've been afraid of the dark for years, but as I've discovered my love for light, the dark isn't so scary, but I still brought my flashlight. Near my home, there's this creepy old school that's still standing after many years of abandonment. I know trespassing isn't the best decision one can make. I always try to obey signs and laws, yet I was drawn to the building that night. I started to explore the inside. It had been vandalized and looked like nothing special had ever happened there. As I was exploring the empty rooms, my gut instinct kicked in. Moments after my gut was done signaling me, I heard what sounded to be metal pieces falling on the ground. It was almost like pennies being dumped into a change jar, but very loud. And instantly, it stopped. I couldn't hear a mouse. I was shook. I know I heard this sound. Me being an inspiring detective and all, I had to locate the origin. I wasn't clear where the sound came from. It seemed to be far, but also loud and down, basement level. If I ever wanted to be a true detective and stop being a wuss, I'd have to get over my fear of the unknown, or at least creepy basements. I made sure my flashlight was on as I began into the next room. Under some piping were a few buckets. One stood out. It seemed to have an unusual shiny, almost like water-looking substance inside. It seemed suspicious. I wasn't about to touch it. Deep inside the bucket was a spider web. The unknown substance seemed as if it was preserving this web. As I got closer, I leaned over so I could see directly down into it. Then came a flash, and I was somehow standing in an underground room. My basement theory might have been right after all. I instantly looked for a window or the quickest way to escape, just in case. Just kidding. There were some shelves with a few odd tools, like the ones you would find in an old carpenter's workshop. In the corner, I found a wooden box with metal hinges. I investigated the box, and inside, there were a few mysterious items. Instantly, I was attracted to a piece of paper sitting inside, looking like it was waiting to be found. As I thought, treasure map, almost instantly. It took my very blind young eyes only a few seconds to realize. I found a riddle, not a map. I instantly had this magical feeling tingle through me. Little did I know it had the power to help our own past and our children's future. It essentially helped me learn something about my own extremely powerful spiritual journey. It read,
Dear Time Winder, travel into the future with Psy. Use these tips. Spin with your third eye the Psy, clockwise, 50 times. Every future leap you make, one will lose 2 years of their past with every one revolution into the future. Wind wisely, spend time wiser. Future being, be aware. In case of time warp, to reverse the Psy wind, you must counterclockwise times 5 and make one permanent personal sacrifice, one that betters your life. Resetting the time warp can only be done once. Once complete, you will wake where it started, and this will all just be a dream. Godspeed.
I had no idea what the word Psy even meant. I was anxious to get the answers. My only guess was the bucket was some portal in disguise. Then I crawled out of the window, not wanting to get lost underneath this school.
There are new messages.
Hard to understand. So I went outside the Asian restaurant, Sussex Street at Haymarket, there is across Scotland Street. I don't know, I think it was this place.
The next couple days, I was doing groundwork. My initial research in the next few weeks was, let's just say, neat. I was honored to be hired by instead of charged with trespassing. Let's just stick with that.
There are new messages.
Even the smallest person can change the course of the future.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
It's one thing to be out of this world, but to be out of this universe? I learned that psi was actually the name of a tool used to monitor progress of one's inner strength and energy. It's a common tool used in the practice of telekinesis, or PK for short. This is where it got real. The riddle states that if one wanted to be a time winder, aka time traveler, then the opportunity is there. All I'd have to do was follow the directions it was giving me. Over the years and over time, we've come to realize that certain people with a certain energy and strong enough life force can use this tool, the psi wheel, to create funny airwaves of misfortune. Unfortunately, this was a secret that we knew would never be kept forever. I'm going to describe and show you actual footage of my research into winding the psi wheel. The riddle says you have to spin it clockwise 50 times in order to take a leap into the future. Well, that must mean time traveling into the future. In my mind, I went from being an inexperienced warrior of light into a brave detective of light and time. If I could spin this psi, maybe I could actually be part of something that could actually make a difference in the universe. Who knows? So I practiced. I lit incense sometimes. I set up different areas of design to respect the psi and make it look nice, like it was part of something special. The feeling I was able to feel when I was learning to use this power to spin the metal umbrella on the needle was cleansing. I felt at one with my whole being. Whenever using the psi, I was in a very pure and clean of any evil setting. I was most respectful toward the craft and the science. Practice for the 50 clockwise leap I was leading up to make. After reviewing the footage, I actually began to see a few out of this world things. For example, there was this intergalactic being of some sort. Let's just call it a creature looking future being. It seemed to be watching me while I was practicing. This was just my third practice and I was getting better at it. I felt as though maybe it was their God-given right to be observing the techniques I was using. This put me into believing I was on the edge of a personal, physical, and spiritual journey. The same one that has me sitting here.
There are new messages.
60 seconds. Everybody here says Godspeed.
The day I planned to do the psi clockwise 50 times was somehow the strangest experience I've ever had as a human being. When the riddle read, notice it didn't say how long a leap, or aka revolution, would compare time-wise in length to 2 years that would be lost. Okay, so let's just say I figured it out quick. It went like this. Within a moment, I felt I had progressed into a future state of mind. Then in the moment I stabilized in that time, I would remember a memory of my life from when I was much younger. Ultimately, I was unaware how freaking far forward I would actually leap. And let me tell you, the day I got it going clockwise, I was spinning it way more than 50 times, and every time I hit 50, I would have a flash of memory of my past. As I kept leaping, I started to realize that the memory flash I was having kept getting older. I was getting older in every flash. Not being able to remember anything before the memory flash was unnoticed at first, until I became older in the memory. I wasn't aware that I was slowly losing my youth with every leap. I didn't have to stay as long as I did, but for the sake of research, I was willing to spend the time there. I knew this was a place I would probably never go back to again. My research revealed that the future holds many very, very dangerous outcomes. I chose to reverse the warp after I experienced the first wave of the outcome. I was feeling the bad waves through people's vibes, and that ultimately started to be scary. While I was in this study, trying to take in the information so I could retain, then process it afterwards, I was forgetting more and more of my past. I couldn't remember before age 11 or 12. If I kept leaping, and had I kept spinning the psi wheel, I may ultimately end up vanishing, and quick. I'm glad we made it here all together. I want to truly thank every single one of you who listened and watched my independent documented study. Mostly, thanking you for your time and wishing you Godspeed through every moment of your life. Once you have it back, it's not a game. There's reasons why limits are set, put in place by our ancestors in order to protect. But progress is good. I used the rewind for the time warp by spinning the psi on an area set up for one last sleep. I ended up going through a feeling of memories I hadn't had in so long. It felt as if I'd gotten the chance to remember the lost memories by having an inner awakening. It felt amazing. I saw myself as a child with imagination and dreams. After what seemed to be long enough to understand the process, it was just as the riddle said it would be. I awoke at my computer desk, never going into that school and getting the chance to find the key to Timewind. My research concludes that my hope for the future after being part of an amazing experiment is that someone somewhere will find the key to make the warp for everyone. And people like you and me can live without fear in our everlasting future. So everyone can leap. That night I hit rewind, I also made a personal sacrifice. You know, the one that is only something that would benefit my life. Well, mine was a vow that no matter how good the leaps feel, I will not wind a psi ever in this lifetime. Although I was supposed to awake with no memory of my experience, here I am sharing it. I learned a huge lesson, and one human shouldn't have to be so cryptic, so I retired.